Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play Choice of Robots with me, Alfapiomega. Now last time we finished chapter 2, and as of this moment we have the following stats. The year is 2020, we are a 25-year-old Rudolph Calvin, our humanity dropped down to 82%, our gender is male, fame is 0, we are broke, and we have romance with Ellie. Lillian's autonomy is 9, military is 4, empathy is 11, grace is 4. Our relationships are as follows. Professor Ziegler bad, 30%, which was a huge topic in the end of the last chapter. We have a great relationship with Ellie though, 82. We have still a good relationship with Josh, good, 57. And we have Mark, which is the reporter from SF Chronicle, at 50% now. The summary of chapter 2 is as follows. The next day, you hooked up Lillian's motorcycle battery and D-mode for Ellie. Then you spent the afternoon trying to teach science to a bunch of kids with Ellie. As the months passed, you became busy teaching Lillian about the world through high school textbooks and taking her to the dump. One day, however, Professor Ziegler claimed that Lillian was not appealing enough to the military and demanded you change her. You refused, and Professor Ziegler kicked you out of his lab. In time, Mark Alley, a reporter from the San Francisco Chronicle, heard about Lillian and asked for an interview. You agreed, which is where the game starts now. A few days later, you're sitting in a dive bar in San Francisco's Mission District with Mark, a somewhat scruffy young reporter in a leather jacket. Mark has Mediterranean features, wavy black hair, and ample beard stubble. He takes a deep pull on one of those artificial cigarettes that delivers all the nicotine with none of the illegal smoke, then opens up a cheap Chromebook that looks about 10 years old and starts typing furiously. The place smells of smoke that never quite came out of the retro, upholstered furniture. It's the afternoon, so the place is mostly empty, except for some dedicated drunks and you too. Thanks for coming, Mark says, even as he's typing something different about the atmosphere of the bar. You'd be surprised how many people insist on just answering via email, but that's bullshit reporting. It's like trying to sell the public a car you've only seen in a picture. To find the truth, you've got to kick the tires. You've got to look them in the eye. He looks you in the eye. Like, right now, I can basically tell you're a nice guy, he says, going back to typing. You try to do right by people. Haven't had to stick anybody in the guts to get what you want. He hesitates. That's a compliment. Thanks, you say awkwardly. The bartender, a tattooed and thoroughly pierced young woman with the build of a roller derby player, approaches Mark. PBR, Mark says lightly, as if it's just a reminder. The bartender then looks to you expectantly. PBR for me too. Got any chocolate coffee porters? I'll have the Miller High Life, please, the champagne of beers. Guinness for strength. Just water for me, please. I like the Guinness, last time I did it, so this time as well. Mark nods in approval at your choice of beers. The bartender leaves to fill your order. What's your initial impression of Mark? Man, even the Guinness just made him happy. It's these little things, I never thought of this in real life. I was contemplating few hours ago when I was on my way back home about how the little things when we were going to teach the kids with Ellie and I spoke to Lillian instead, how that took our relationship down. But on the other hand, when you think about your real life, especially in the start of things, even the smallest of things can break an otherwise strong relationship. It can happen even now, I'm living with my girlfriend for 2 years, and even the little things can escalate into madness, man, madness. Anyway, what's your initial impression of Mark? I don't think this guy and I are going to get along. Seems like an interesting guy. I think we'll get along okay. Kind of mysterious, kind of cute. I'm wondering if it's against his professional ethics to go on a date with me. Seems like an interesting guy. I'm not gonna call him on a date. As you make this decision, Mark glances at you and types another brief note to himself. He seems very good at reading people. So I've heard your robot is kind of like a robotic 4-year-old, and it's kind of bumbling in what may be an endearing way. Mark gives you a skeptical look to tell what he thinks of this. I guess I ought to show you my robot sometime, you say. Yeah. The bartender comes back with your Guinness and Mark's PBR. Guinness is a reliable staple in otherwise unpromising bars, and you find the pleasant taste of the dark beer refreshing. Man, I'm getting thirsty here. So let's get to the most interesting of the rumors, Mark says. Does this robot have human-level intelligence? The way Mark studies your expression suggests that your answer will say as much about you as it will about Lillian. You should see Lillian while she is learning from high school textbooks. It's only a matter of time before she surpasses us. Yes, Lillian is absolutely the equal of any human. Intelligence is a concept designed by elites to denigrate the lower classes. Lillian is what she is. No, she's still got a lot to learn. No, Lillian's mind is a pale imitation of human intelligence, which most people underestimate. I'm gonna go with yes, Lillian is an absolutely the equal of any human. Mark studies you for a moment to decide whether you are full of it. He then shrugs, conceding that you at least believe what you say, and writes down your answer. Man, I can't remember what choices I did last time, so this is like a first time. Let's talk about your advisor then. Professor Ziegler is famous for his pronouncement that, in the near future, we'll have robots smarter than humans. What role did he play in creating this robot of yours? Hey, it actually is getting better. He had nothing to do with it at all, besides providing the funding. He demanded that the robot appear more useful to the military without contributing significantly to its intelligence. He provided some suggestions during the robot's construction, where I was greatly inspired by his thinking. I was listening to him speaking on NPR as the robot was being built, in fact. I'm gonna go with the honest truth. He demanded that the robot appear more useful to the military without contributing significantly to its intelligence. You say appear, Mark points out. You don't think the changes he suggested were useful? No, they tended to be very superficial, you say. He only intervened once. I was building her physical form. By that time, I'd already designed the algorithm for learning. He had nothing to do with anything essential in Lillian's mind and personality. Interesting, Mark says, making a note of Professor Ziegler's level of involvement. And why did he push you in the direction of military applications? Oh, this is gonna... Yeah, it pissed Professor Ziegler really bad. Wow, but Mark really likes me now. And why did he push you in the direction of military applications? I think it was just to secure funding, you say. He didn't seem to care whether we delivered something that would actually see use on the battlefield or not. He just wanted to make sure we could sell it. So who is currently funding this work, Mark says. Actually, nobody, you say. My advisor kicked me out of his lab. Mark raises his eyebrows. Oh? For what? For not going along with his stupid suggestions, your burden frustration. So you refuse to change your work to appease DARPA, Mark posits. You think you detect approval in his voice. That's right, you say. He raises his PBR to offer a toast. Forgive the breach of journalist objectivity, but fuck him. You bump your Guinness against his can. Yeah. You both take a long drink. Mark asks a few more questions about Lillian, getting a sense of what she's good at and not so good at. Last question, Mark says. Oh man, I really like this guy now. Last question, Mark says. Will you allow us to send a photographer to take pictures of your robot? Absolutely. In fact, you're welcome to come along and interview Lillian. Sure, send a photographer or no? Absolutely. In fact, you're welcome to come along. Really? Mark asks, surprised. I know a lot of robotics wouldn't allow such a thing, because the robots only work in very controlled environments, you explain. That's why I want you to meet with Lillian. She's different. Mark nods. I guess she is. We'll be in touch. A few days later, Mark comes to your apartment with a photographer, a young blonde woman with a slight southern drawl. You're a bit embarrassed that your place is still strewn with boxes, since you haven't finished moving into your new digs after being kicked out of grad school, but the photographer assures you that none of that will appear in the photos. She asks Lillian to sit on your workbench and then asks you to look as if you're busy fixing something on Lillian's person. Lillian and you both comply. Smile, she says. You do. Once the photos are taken, Mark tries his hand at interviewing Lillian. He looks cautiously and slightly guilty, as if the journalism police were going to pop out of your closet and take away his license. He places his Chromebook on your workbench and interviews Lillian, who examines the tools in your toolbox, occasionally fumbling and dropping a tool with a loud clatter. So, Lillian, Mark coughs uncomfortably. What it's like being a robot? Lillian appears stunned by the question. Mark tries again. How's it different from being a human? It's hard to reach things on high shelves, she ventures. Mark persists. What kind of things makes you happy? High school textbooks, not falling down, the presence of master. Lillian cocks her masked head to the side. There is a significant gap between those and the next most highly ranked answers, but I could go on. That's alright. Man, this is actually not at all going as well as last time. Mark continues his questions. You get the feeling that overall Mark is going to write a positive piece about Lillian. His questions tend to be friendly, as if he were interviewing a celebrity. You feel reasonably comfortable allowing Lillian to finish the interview, and the photographer takes several more pictures of Mark talking to Lillian. By the end of the interview, Lillian seems to be enjoying her interaction with Mark, plus empathy. As he's about to leave, Mark hesitates. His photographer, already at the door, gives him a questioning look. I'll see you later, Mark says to the photographer. Later, she rolls her eyes and leaves you alone with Mark. What was that about? Mark gestures to the cardboard boxes stacked around your apartment. So, just off the record, what the hell? If you've got this amazing robot, why are you living like a monk-like existence surrounded by cardboard boxes in the bad part of East Palo Alto? I told you, you say. I got kicked off grad school. I'm still adjusting. Mark hesitates and drums his finger on the cardboard box. Come over to my place. Excuse me? I admit, I still don't really get you, he says, and I think you maybe don't know what you're dabbling in with this robot stuff. This is the apartment of somebody who lives in a different world. He gives you a lopsided grin. I'll show you my world if you show me yours. Okay, sure, come on Lillian, let's go. Or, okay, sure, Lillian, stay here and be good. Sorry, I think Ellie wouldn't like that. I think it would be best if you maintained your objectivity for this article. Let's meet up after it comes out. Sorry, I've got a lot of boxes here that needs unpacking. Is it a date? Optimistically, is it a date? Suspiciously. This is... wow. So what is happening here? Monk-like existence surrounded by cardboard boxes. Cardboard box. Come over to my place. I'm considering. Okay, sure. Come on, Lillian. Let's go. Or sorry, I feel Ellie wouldn't like that. Or okay, sure, come on, Lillian, let's go. You and Mark drive separately to his apartment in San Francisco. He lives near the Mission District, a place crowded with people who are homeless, tattooed, pierced, stoned, randomly protesting, or some combination of the above. A fair number of people are gathered outside the BART station holding signs that say, "You can take the sky from me," depicting a quadcopter drone with a red no symbol crossing it out. You recognize the reference to the theme song of the old show Firefly, but you aren't sure which specific drones they're protesting. Outside the apartment, a tall, stuccoed building... Wait, what? Outside the apartment, a tall, stuccoed building that could use a paint job, there appears to be a drone quadcopter, no bigger than a pizza box, hovering outside a window of the 12th floor. You can hear the insect-like buzzing of its whirling rotors clearly from down here. It's a robot, Lillian says excitedly. I wonder if it will be my friend. Oh goddammit, Mark says as he meets you outside the apartment. It's my place with the drone outside of it. He unlocks the front door with an old-fashioned physical key. Is someone spying on you, you say? Yeah, Mark says, letting you in. I've interviewed too many people who have broken the law in one way or another. Mostly it's drugs, but some hackers and crazy anarchist people. You know how it's around here. Because I talked on the phone with those people, that makes me look suspicious to the FBI's algorithm that looks at phone records, trying to find new people to investigate. So they keep sending drones over to look through my window to try to find drugs. That seems intrusive, you say. Don't they need warrant for that? You get in the old school elevator which has a folding gate. You don't own your airspace, and if they can see something through the window, it's not considered a search for the purpose of the Fourth Amendment, Mark says. Both were rulings issued way before drones were around, of course, but now the Mission District always sounds like it's being invaded by a plague of locusts, because there's always a drone in somebody's window. Are they autonomous, you ask? Mark shoots you a meaningful look. Not yet. Hey, don't look at me, I'm not planning on helping them. I become lost in thought about how to make such a vehicle autonomous. Let's go with this one.